We have Alok Misra, CEO of the Microfinance Institutions Network, and Gigi Mamin, Executive Director and CEO at Sadhan, joining in as well. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. Firstly, Alok, let me come to you. You know, Rishi was just taking us through the microfinance company's budget recommendations, three aspects: additional fundraising options, credit guarantee schemes from the government, and special fund for Northeastern states. That the industry has taken this to the finance ministry. What is the first response that you've seen?
Well, thanks for having me here. And let me say that I do not know from where you get that there's a budget demands and all that. Yesterday we had the sector has had a meeting with the Department of Financial Services. Department of Financial Services meets us at regular intervals. As part of that, the whole overall sector situation, contribution of the sector, outreach, and various old things which we had that having a dedicated refinance facility, etc., were discussed with the government. And that's why the government in the evening has also released a press release, which
Dr.
gives
Misra,
details of, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Misra, is Vishwanath Nair joining in. I just wanted to get a sense about this additional financing sort of request that the industry seems to be making to the government. Yes, there is an unregulated space and that is causing a lot of problems, but you know, even regulated lenders have had missteps or issues with excessive lending. Over leveraging has been a word that has been repeatedly used for the last 3 months or so. I just want to get your view, then the additional financing does what exactly?
No, you mean to say the additional financing or refinancing thing which has been requested to the government?
Yes.
Yeah. So see, you are mixing up two things. First of all, you are talking about client level situation, and second, you are talking about our demand of additional refinance facility. So what we have said is that if you look at the MFI structure, the NBFC MFIs, they are primarily dependent upon borrowings from wholesale borrowings from the banks. And then there are other sources like All India Financial Institutions, NABARD should be, and the external commercial borrowings, but banks remain the major source. But in times in times of COVID, when there was portfolio quality issue and others, generally the bank funding and other things dries up. Right now, the situation is not like that. The situation is quite normal. But even then, we see a little drying up of funding. So to avoid such peaks and troughs in funding, what we have requested is that if a dedicated, because this is the only sector which contributes so much, 8 crore unique low-income borrowers are being catered through it across 723 districts, 4 lakh crore portfolio, all unsecured. So we also need to have a dedicated refinance facility with a developmental lens so that the flow of funds to the sector remains continual. So that is one thing. On the second thing, if you want me, I will talk about the client level situation. If you say that, I can tackle it right now.
That will be very helpful, sir. Please tell us.
Yeah, on the client level situation, see, we have as the data from the bureau is the credit bureau is the major source of data, and in credit bureau data, our analysis shows that clients who have breached the or you can say who have more than 4 lenders, microfinance lenders, are hardly 2.4%. And if I add not only 3 lenders, which is our norm from 1st April going forward, there the percentage, if it take together, it goes to 5%. So not a big problem, but institutional-wise it can be, but industry-wide not such a big issue. I think the industry is very capable of tackling those issues. We earlier also had a 3-lender norm, and we will soon come back to it. And when you talked about the other part of it, now other lenders getting into the space and lending to the same client, and that, yes, that is shrinking the space available, but we being prudent, our guardrails, which MPN had announced, also takes care of that even if there is an unsecured retail portion, we will calculate that. So all steps have been taken and the problem is marginal in case of 5%.
Right, Mr. Misra. We also have Mr. Gigi Mamin, ED and CEO of Sadhan, another microfinance institutions body. I wanted to get your sense, Mr. Mamin. The conversation that has been going on with the government seems to be suggesting that the industry needs some amount of support from the government and from the broader industry so that they can come back and start lending better. CRIF data that has come out only yesterday points out that about a 4% drop sequentially on the gross loan portfolio has happened, still about 4 lakh crore. Just take us through, the idea behind this request, sir.
Hi, hello. See, the sector, if you see, in the last 5-6 months, it has declined. It has degrown by around 4-5%. That is a fact, because the sector was around 4.42 lakh crores at the end of last financial year. It has come down to below 3 lakh crore at the moment, 4 lakh crore at the moment. It's basically because of a couple of things. One is that the guardrails which the SROs have put in has also limited their operations further. In the sense, we have given a exposure limit of 2 lakh crores, 2 lakhs for a borrower. So that itself must put some kind of a restraint. Secondly, there is also a shortage of funding available because of some restrictions the lenders have also put. The lenders means lenders to the MFIs have put. So these have caused a little degrowth, and I think it's a welcome thing, because probably the last 2 years, if you see, the growth has been quite steep and quite high. I was just seeing the data of last 2 years, from 2022 to 22 March to say 24 March. Almost 50% growth has been recorded. So probably that is something which was quite a high. And of course, it can be justified because during the COVID time, there has been a fund shortage, or there was a possibility of not lending much. So, but then that pent-up demand has been met during this period, but probably that growth has been slightly higher. That's the reason why the SROs also came in and put some kind of a guardrails and some kind of restraint. And that is the reason why the portfolio has degrowth. Regarding our demand for funding, see, basically the fund, as Mr. Alok said, it mostly comes from the banking sector, banking system, and majority of that fund which comes from the banking system goes to the larger players. Like some 10-15 larger players account for almost 60% of the money which is drawn from the banking system.
Right.
The remaining MFIs are not able to mobilize the fund the way the larger ones are able to do that. That itself is restraining their growth. And if you see the smaller ones, the smallest ones, they are all niche players. They all are in the areas where probably other lenders are not there. So supporting them is an important thing. That is the reason we said that there can be a dedicated funding mechanism, and that dedicated funding mechanism can help them in drawing the money and expand their growth. Also, we have requested for a equity funding mechanism, because right now, if you see, there is no many equity funding available for the smaller institutions. Maybe larger institutions can still access, or they can still get funding, equity funding from PE investors. But for the smaller ones, if they ask to grow, if they have to have more credit operations, they need growth capital. And for that growth capital, there is no such funding available at the moment. There is a fund created by Government of India in 2010 with SIDBI called IMEF, which is not fully utilized because of certain reasons, maybe some kind of a rigid conditionalities around that. So probably there is some relaxation needed for that fund to be used much better, or there should be a similar kind of a fund which can be used much more flexibly by the MFIs. So this funding will help the MFIs to grow. They can grow their operations, and it will ultimately, it will be helping the poorer people, because they are the ones who are unable to get funding from the normal banking system. So we are supporting almost 8 crore households, as Alok said. So they are all poor households. So for them, if they have to get money, they have to get funds. This is the only source. MFI is the only source.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for that.
Thank
you for that, Mr. Maman. I want to go back to Dr. Misra. One of the decisions that MFIN made, I mean, so you brought in stricter norms, stricter rules for for your members. It was in October, if I'm not wrong, where you said that from January 1st you would be tightening certain criteria for the lenders. You've also on one of those decisions, which was the maximum lenders cap, you explained already that the people with 4 or more lenders was only about 2.4%. So that was not really that much of a stress point to begin with. But do you think that the need for it to be applied on April 1st, from Jan 1st, you deferred it to April 1st, so would it still be there on the 1st of April, considering the environment that you're dealing with right now?
Well, thanks for raising that. And as I have clarified earlier also, the postponing of it to 1st April is not because of any other reason than because of the operational reason. Because MFIN released the first guardrail in July, which got implemented by August. So some of the members, even the large members, said that too frequent a change will disrupt the operations. So let us do it in a seamless fashion. So that's why we have pushed it to 1st April. Let the year be over, let the needed IT changes and all that be done, and no other reason. And second thing is, let me say that the second guardrails which we issued in November, that had 7 covenants. Out of that, this was only one of the covenant, that is the lender cap from 4 to 3. Other 6 have gone in force from 1st January itself. This, because of the reasons I told you, has been pushed to 1st April. That is 3 months. We are already half of January is done.
Got that, sir. Got that. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Misra, for joining us on this conversation, and Gigi Maman from Sadhan as well for talking to us about the demands of the microfinance industry to the finance ministry. Thank you so much, both the gentlemen.